So this is a breaking news story. This is the headline from NBC, and it reads, United States intelligence helped Ukraine sink Russian flagship Moskva, according to officials. So you guys remember a few weeks ago, the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet sank on April 14th after being struck by 2 Ukrainian Neptune anti-ship missiles. So for the Russians, this is the biggest loss of a ship in combat since World War II. So it's no joke, right? It's if not in terms of their arsenal, then certainly in morale, it's a huge loss, right? It's very embarrassing, and it's a blow to morale for anybody, right? Now, the breaking news here is that the United States helped them do it. Now, obviously, I don't need to tell you that the United States are helping the Ukrainians. They've been sending them boatloads of weapons, even the EU, even Germany, which is supposedly neutral. They're no longer neutral now. But the United States has been their biggest patron. They've sent the Ukrainians $20 billion. That's the latest figure. And then there was an $800 million payment in weapons, then another one, $800 million. So basically, we're talking about tens of billions of dollars in weapons. And of course, everybody's sending their own versions of javelins and NLAWs and so on. But intelligence support, this is something else. This is not material, right? This is something that the Americans are helping the Ukrainians with. And it's very deep because you suspect this thing, but you don't expect them to brag about it. Do you understand the point? It's one thing to suspect it. It's a very educated guess. It's a very basic, common sense guess to think, yeah, I bet the Americans are helping the Ukrainians with intelligence. But for them to go on the record, well, at least it doesn't matter. Just that they're speaking to the press, right? Their names are not really relevant here. But just that they're speaking to the press, these U.S. officials saying, yeah, we helped them sink that ship. This is very, very big. This is a different game now because they're basically bragging about it. This is provocative. Do you understand? So let's go through this and what they're saying here. They say intelligence shared by the U.S. helped Ukraine sink the Russian cruiser Moskva, U.S. officials told NBC News, confirming an American role in perhaps the most embarrassing blow to Vladimir Putin's troubled invasion of Ukraine. So a guided missile cruiser carrying a crew of 510, the Moskva was the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, and it sank on April 14th. Moscow said the vessel sank after a fire. The Moskva was the largest Russian warship sunk in combat since World War II. The American officials said there were significant casualties, but they don't know how many. Now, here's the interesting part. The attack happened after Ukrainian forces asked the Americans about a ship sailing in the Black Sea south of Odessa. The U.S. identified it as the Moskva and helped confirm its location, after which the Ukrainians targeted the ship. I love this part. The United States did not know in advance that Ukraine was going to target the Moskva and was not involved in the decision to strike. Maritime intelligence is shared with Ukraine to help it defend against attack from Russian ships, officials added. I like this sentence very much because they're playing word games here, right? They're saying, yeah, we help the Ukrainians, but only to defend themselves. Yeah, but you could argue that sinking Russian ships is self-defense, right? They're playing word games here. They're not stupid. When you give the Ukrainians all of these weapons, what do you think they're going to do with them? They're going to melt them down and make monkey bars to jump on or something like. They're going to kill Russians with them. That's what they're for. That's what you're giving them for. And when you give them this intelligence, they're going to try and target that ship. Perhaps there's a very good possibility of that. So they act like, oh, we didn't know we just told them what the ship was. Like, do they think we're that stupid? Do they really think we're that stupid? Here's what it says underneath the photo. American officials have expressed concerns that reporting about U.S. intelligence sharing with Ukraine could anger Putin and provoke an unpredictable response. Yeah, obviously. Of course. I mean, imagine the United States reaction if the Russians were bragging about this. Last year, now it's 2020. In 2020, you'll recall there was this whole issue about Russian bounties. It was completely fake. But you saw the reaction in the media, like, oh my God, how dare Vladimir Putin pay the Taliban to kill American soldiers on Afghan soil, right? So in a sense, that makes no sense to me because when you're occupied, you don't need to be paid bounties to get rid of the occupier. That makes no sense, and that's why the story stank from the beginning, right? And we know that it's not true. But you saw the visceral reaction. They were very, very angry in the U.S. media. So if the shoe were on the other foot, we already know what would happen. Now, it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that because this headline from the New York Times, and this is May 4th, look what it says. U.S. intelligence is helping Ukraine kill Russian generals. So it's not just sinking ships now. They're killing and targeting. They're targeting and killing Russian generals. Okay? So the U.S. has provided intelligence about Russian units that has allowed Ukrainians to target and kill many of the Russian generals who have died in action in the Ukraine war, according to senior American officials. Ukrainian officials said they have killed approximately 12 generals on the front lines, a number that has astonished military analysts. Now, I got to be honest with you guys. I'm astonished. I don't know if that's true, because this sounds too good to be true. It could be true, though. I'm not denying it. I'm not saying it's one or the other. That is remarkable, though. 12 generals, that's ridiculous. You know, this is not the Middle Ages anymore. You don't have the king riding into the battle on a horse, like leading the charge, and a very good probability they get killed. The generals are not always exposing themselves that way, right? Especially in the modern era. Even in World War II, 12 generals is unheard of. It's unheard of. This is not something you do in the span of 2 months. We kill 12 generals. What? That's obscene, right? So if this is true, it makes it all the more egregious, shall we say, right, for the Russians. Now, the article continues, the targeting help is part of a classified effort by the Biden administration to provide real-time battlefield intelligence to Ukraine. That intelligence also includes anticipated Russian troop movements gleaned from recent American assessments of Moscow's secret battle plan for the fighting in the Donbass region of eastern Ukraine. Officials declined to specify how many generals had been killed as a result of U.S. assistance. The U.S. is focused on providing the location and other details about the Russian military's mobile headquarters, which relocate frequently. Ukrainian officials have combined that geographic information with their own intelligence, including intercepted communications that alert the Ukrainian military to the presence of senior Russian officers, to conduct artillery strikes and other attacks that have killed Russian officers. Now, that's normal. Of course, officers get killed all the time. But an officer is anybody who's above, an NCO, a non-commissioned officer. So above, sergeant, roughly. You could have a lieutenant, a captain, a major, but 12 generals, that is... If this is true, it's a huge blow to morale. And the mind games here are quite something, right? Even if my point is, even if the Ukrainians had done that alone, it's something remarkable. That does not happen every day. Now, U.S. intelligence support to the Ukrainians has had a decisive effect, confirming targets identified by the Ukrainian military and pointing it to new targets. Officials interviewed for this article spoke on the condition of anonymity. The administration has sought to keep much of the battlefield intelligence secret out of fear it will be seen as escalation. Well, of course it would. Of course. And provoke Putin into a wider war. Now, American officials would not describe how they have acquired information on Russian troop headquarters for fear of endangering their methods of collection. But they point to a variety of sources, including classified and commercial satellites. Now, this is a very interesting quote. What do we have here? Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, you remember, he said, quote, "We want to see Russia weakened to the degree that it cannot do the kinds of things that it has done in invading Ukraine." Now, this is a very important quote, as we were looking at, because this ups the stakes. Because right now, people are trying to paint this as, it's just Russia versus Ukraine with a little bit of American help, with a little bit of NATO help. That's not what that statement means. When you say we want to weaken the Russians, as Austin is saying, or when Biden says, this guy, meaning Putin, cannot remain in power, these are very big statements. I mean, even in the Cold War, you never heard these sorts of things. In the Cold War, when there were nukes pointed at each other. Do you understand? Mind you, I don't feel like that situation is too far off given what's happening right now, this madness right here, just openly bragging and saying these sorts of things. Like, just to give you an idea how outrageous this is, you never had the defense secretary, the U.S. defense secretary, saying we have to weaken the Russians. What? What? I mean, this shows you how irresponsible these people are. These people meaning the new generation, as me and Pepe were talking about, because they don't understand the balance of power. They don't understand what's going on. They think this is a game, right? They think they can be cowboy. Oh boy. Oh boy. I want to show you here this other point in the article. They say after it was published, Adrienne Watson, a National Security Council spokeswoman, said in a statement that the battlefield intelligence was not provided to the Ukrainians, quote, with the intent to kill Russian generals. Of course they're going to say that, because this by itself, even with this sort of disclaimer, this asterisk, this, afterthought, it's provocative. This is provocative. I can assure you, if the shoe were on the other foot, the Americans would lose it. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. It's one thing to go after the troops, but going after the generals, I mean, this is, you could very much, you could argue it's tantamount to assassinations, right? And you might be going, yeah, but it's a war. Of course people are getting killed. Yes, but when you go after the senior leadership, and I don't just mean Vladimir Putin or the defense minister, that includes the top brass, right? These are the decision makers. Sorry, these are the people that are informing the decision makers. And so they play a very vital role in keeping the war machine going, right? So it's not like killing some grunt or some sergeant, in a trench or something. It's completely different, right? And when you're saying that the United States is helping to target the Russian cruiser, yes, their flagship, and then targeting generals, those disclaimers mean nothing, because the deed is done. Those generals have been killed, allegedly, and that ship went down. It did go down. So this is very provocative. And my point here is that these people are irresponsible, because they are basically trying to poke the Russians again. And I need to make something clear again, and I cannot believe I have to make this thing clear. I thought this was very obvious to people. There is something called mutually assured destruction, which means MAD. It's very aptly, the acronym is very aptly spelt as MAD. And the whole idea is that if you mess with us, you launch a nuke, we will launch a nuke, and we'll destroy each other. But at least, I'll take you down with me. That's the whole point, right? And that's a deterrent. That's supposed to act as a deterrent, because before you launch that nuke, you're going to think twice, do I really want to do this? Because I'm going to get blown to smithereens. Because those guys have nukes in Russia. They have nukes in their submarines. Who knows where the submarines are? They're secret. The location is secret. They can launch anywhere in the world from a submarine and hit an American city. So there's mutually assured destruction. And they are poking the Russians and provoking them to a degree that I think is really astounding. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have never seen anything like this in the Cold War, where you have the Americans saying, yeah, we're purposely targeting Russian generals. What the fuck? What the motherfuck? I've never heard this in my life. This is people do not understand how provocative this is. This is outrageous. You have two nuclear powers that are, they're at war here. Like, if you cannot see that this is a proxy war, you are a dumb ass. You have no business talking about politics. You don't belong anywhere near this. Like, you need to do something else, because this is not for you. This is a proxy war. This is not, the Ukrainians, the gallant, benevolent Ukrainians resisting the Russian occupiers. No, that's the mainstream media narrative. The reality on the ground is that NATO is fighting a proxy war with Russia. Specifically, when we say NATO, we mean mainly the United States. So this is very, very stupid. I cannot believe that they are bragging about this to the media. Even if you were doing it, you wouldn't say this shit. In the Cold War, the whole idea was that you would try your best to not show your involvement, right? There were many proxy wars in the Cold War between the US and Russia. Of course, Afghanistan is one of them. And the US was arming the Mujahideen to fight the Soviets. And they did a good job at defeating the Soviets, right? The Soviets came in 79, and they got their asses handed to them, and they left in 89. And the whole idea was that you don't show your hand. You want to make sure they don't fucking find out that you are arming the Mujahideen. You don't want anyone to know. And here they're just bragging about it. Yeah, we're targeting the ships. Yeah, we're targeting the generals. So what? What do you mean, so what? Do you want to get us all killed? Are you out of your fucking mind? I can't believe I have to say these things, like explain the most basic shit. Like, why do I have to explain this? What is going on? What the hell is going on? These people are really irresponsible. They're extremely irresponsible and stupid. Again, it's one thing to do it, but then to go and start bragging about it, you're basically egging the Russians on to escalate this. That's what it is. There's really no other way to put it. This is unbelievably stupid and irresponsible. And another thing that appeared in the Times, again, make of this what you will. This was published on April 20th. Okay, so speaking of the Moskva, of the Russian cruiser that was sunk, they say a U.S. spy plane on patrol in the Black Sea before sinking of the Russian flagship. So that, again, this indicates, once again, the U.S. role in helping to get that ship. And if you really are going to sit there and act like, you believe the U.S. side, like, hey, look, man, they just asked us if that's the ship, and we confirmed it, and we gave them the location. We had no clue they were going to sink it. What did you think they were going to do? They were going to, raid the ship and then give everybody rum and steal the cargo and run away? Like, what fantasy do you have in your mind? Of course they're going to fucking sink it. They did. You know that. You know what weapons you're giving them. If you're the Americans, you have to have an inventory of what the Ukrainians have so you know what to give them. Right? You know exactly what capabilities they have because you're fucking arming them. Man, they really take people for fools. The problem is, the Russians are not fools, and they have nuclear weapons. And this is really bad, and this is going to end up very, very badly for all of us if they keep up this kind of behavior, because this is really, escalating things to something I've never even heard of. It's really getting to that point.